Welcome to Joe's Astrology. Today is Monday, April 15th, and we have planets coming close to the North Node in today's astrology. So I want to talk about planets conjunct the North Node. Like right now we have Venus. Venus is coming close to the North Node. I'm going to explain what that means. So when you have specifically in your birth chart, when you have a planet on the North Node, it shows that there is an element of reliving past life dynamics as there is for all of us, but there's also an element of fruition in this life. So, for example, if you have Venus on the North Node, there could be an element of fruition when it comes to money, when it comes to beauty, art, things that are represented by Venus. So I'm going to read from a book, and I have a video on this. I'll link it in the description. It's called The Best Astrology Book Ever. And we see here, it says that, and this is very interesting because I don't think this is emphasized enough about the North Node. The South Node is where we're coming from, and it's where we feel safe, and we feel like oftentimes we want to stay in the South Node energy. So for me, I have the South Node in Capricorn in the 12th, and I am very comfortable in silence. I'm very comfortable in the space of reflection, the space of spirituality, reading. When I was younger, not that much younger, but I I started to get into like going to churches, Catholic churches, and I would just sit there in meditation or even just in silence, and I would go there daily when I lived near a nice church. And that's very much, among other things, that's very much 12th house that I feel comfortable in. And the North Node is the unknown. So oftentimes people they'll be afraid to step into the unknown, and that will explain why people stay in their South Node. That would explain why people have these fears, because they could have a lot of emphasis on the South Node, and really moving into the North Node to them is scary. And even though to another person who has a planet on that node, it's it's not scary. It's something that they're willing to do. And it says here that oftentimes that occurs at the first Saturn return, so roughly around 30 years of age. If you see that in the chart, a person will that'll start to become prevalent in their life. And this is one big thing why astrology can really help people, because you can see between the ages of 20 and 30, people have this placement with something on the North Node, and they might be sensing the future, and they're very anxious about it, and they're maybe freaking out, and you can really assure them that everything's going to be fine, etc. Just go through the motions, do the best you can, and then when you hit your 30s, you'll start to see these things come into play in your life. So it also says here, let's see if I can find it. And I'll read some of this. What fruition means is that the intentions and motivations have been sufficiently pure. Intentions, motivations, agendas, and the desires that fuel it. But it says that there's a special quality, because of this, there's a special quality or condition to bring into the life. So there can be this element of reliving from a positive and a not so great point of view. Very simply put, a planet conjunct the North Node means that the archetype has already been embraced by the soul just previous to the current life in order to evolve. It is meant to continue that evolution in this life via the planet conjunct the North Node. With the planet on the North Node, the soul has an inner sense of moving towards something that has already been underway, whereas a planet on the South Node creates much more sense of being stuck. And from the past, in something from the past, the soul wants to move away from but can't. Planets conjunct the North Node mean that the archetypes have been worked upon prior to the current life. They are not brand new. And the intention is to continue working upon those archetypes. It is a feeling of driving away from something in your car, and you're looking through the rearview mirror, the increasing sense of something being left behind. And this makes perfect sense, this idea of going back and forth between the South Node and the North Node. So you see, for example, a soul comes into life, and they say, I'm a big tennis guy, and you might say someone sees tennis at a young age and say, I want to do that, I want to be a tennis player. And they start playing tennis, and they may run into some problems in that they're not getting the right instruction, they're not as talented as they need to be, they may lack the work ethic, and as they move later in life, they still might want to be, they still have that strong desire to be a tennis player, and it just never happened. It can become that feeling of being stuck in the South Node. And they may do other things in their life, but let's say this is the main thing. And then the next life, they come in with this idea of being stuck on the South Node. And maybe there's a little bit of a push towards the North Node. And there's a push-pull between the two. And that soul has to kind of figure out what went wrong, what can I do better. And then in this life, they may be more prepared. They may have more talents. They may meet better people, the right people, and they get closer to that North Node. And then you may see someone who's been working on this for many lifetimes, and then you'll see that heavy emphasis on the North Node. You can see I just did a video on Nadal. He has a planet on the North Node. I wouldn't consider that as an example of like a heavy North Node movement, in that there's a lot more to be said about that. But yeah, this idea that there can be this back and forth between lives trying to figure this out, and that's what we see in the struggle, the quote-unquote struggle of life. It usually has to do with something specific that the soul wants to do. So check out my videos below. I'll link the Nadal video. I'm going to link the book video. And please subscribe to the channel for more great astrology. And as always, feel free to leave comments down below. And I hope you have a great day.